Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting science lesson. Have you ever wondered how a tiny paper strip can tell whether something is acidic, neutral, or alkaline? And why does pH paper suddenly change its color when it touches a liquid? Well, in today's video, we are going to explore the different types of pH paper, understand why they change color, and learn where different pH papers are used in real life. So, let's begin our colorful science journey. What exactly is pH? The word pH means potential of hydrogen. It is used to measure whether a solution is acidic, neutral, or alkaline, also called basic. Scientists measure pH using something called the pH scale. Let's understand this in a very simple way. If the pH is between 0 to 6, the solution is acidic. If the pH is exactly 7, the solution is neutral. And if the pH is between 8 to 14, the solution is basic or alkaline. Let's look at some examples. Lemon juice tastes sour because it is acidic. Pure water is neutral. And soap solution? Yes, it is alkaline. In simple words, pH helps us understand how acidic or basic something is. Now here comes the real question. What exactly is pH paper? pH paper is a special indicator paper coated with chemicals called indicators. These chemicals have a very interesting property. They change color depending on whether the liquid is acidic or alkaline. Imagine this paper as a tiny science detective. It quickly tells us what type of solution we're testing. Why do people use pH paper? Because it is fast, cheap, easy to carry, and it does not need electricity. That is why pH paper is widely used in schools, laboratories, water testing, and fieldwork. Now comes the most interesting part. Why does pH paper actually change color? Let's understand the science behind this in a very simple way. pH paper contains chemicals called acid-base indicators. These indicators are actually weak acids or weak bases. Now here is the magic. When pH paper touches an acidic solution, the indicator gains hydrogen ions, also called H+ ions. And when it touches a basic solution, the indicator loses hydrogen ions. Because of this change, the molecular structure changes. And when the structure changes, the way light is absorbed also changes. And that is exactly why we see different colors. So basically, different pH means different color. Pretty cool, right? Let's understand color change step by step. Imagine we dip pH paper into an acidic solution. The indicator becomes protonated. And what color do we usually see? Red or orange. Now, let's move to a neutral solution. Here, both acidic and basic forms exist together, so we often see a green color. And what happens in a basic solution? The indicator becomes deprotonated, and the color changes to blue or purple. Remember this important idea. pH paper changes color because the arrangement of electrons changes, which changes how light is absorbed. Science may sound complicated, but once you understand the idea, it becomes super interesting. Now that we understand how pH paper works, let's explore the different types of pH paper. Did you know? Not all pH papers are the same. Different pH papers are used for different purposes. There are mainly 5 important types of pH paper. Number 1, litmus paper, used to quickly check whether something is acidic or basic. Number 2, universal indicator paper, used to find an approximate pH value. Number 3, narrow range pH paper, used when we need higher accuracy in a small pH range. Number 4, wide range pH paper, used for general testing over a broad pH scale. And finally, number 5, specialty pH paper, used in industries, laboratories, and medical testing. Now, let's understand each one in detail. Let's begin with the simplest one, litmus paper. There are two types of litmus paper, red litmus paper and blue litmus paper. But what happens when they touch different solutions? Let's see. If red litmus paper is placed in an acid, nothing changes. But if it is placed in a base, it turns blue. Now for blue litmus paper. If it touches an acid, it turns red. And in a base, no change. Remember this important point. Litmus paper only tells us, is it acidic or basic? But it cannot tell the exact pH number. That is why it is mainly used for quick identification. Now let's talk about the most commonly used pH paper, the Universal Indicator paper. This paper is very useful because it can estimate pH from 1 all the way to 14. And guess what? Different pH values produce different colors. If the pH is 1 to 3, we usually see red color. For 4 to 6, it becomes orange or yellow. At pH 7, we get green, which means neutral. For 8 to 11, the color becomes blue. And from 12 to 14, we usually see purple. This is why universal indicator paper is widely used in schools, laboratories, water testing, and environmental monitoring. It works by combining multiple indicators together to measure pH across a large range. Pretty smart, right? But what if we need more accuracy? That is where narrow-range pH paper becomes useful. Unlike universal paper, this paper works only in a small pH range. But here is the advantage. It gives better precision. For example, a pH range of 5 to 8 is often used for drinking water testing. Range 6 to 8 may be used in biological testing. And range 2 to 5 can be useful for acid analysis. So remember, smaller range means higher accuracy. Next comes wide-range pH paper. As the name suggests, this paper covers a wide pH range, usually from 1 to 14. It is mainly used for quick and general testing. For example, educational experiments, basic chemistry practice, and even household testing. However, there is one small limitation. Because it covers such a large range, it is less precise compared to narrow-range pH paper. Wide range means more coverage, but slightly less accuracy. Now let's move to something more advanced. Specialty pH papers. These are designed for special purposes. Different industries and laboratories use different specialty papers. For example, high alkalinity paper is used in the cement industry. Micro-range pH paper is used in laboratories for very precise testing. Some pH papers are used in water treatment plants. And clinical pH strips are even used for urine or saliva testing in healthcare. Amazing, right? A simple paper strip can even help in medical testing. Now comes a very important question. Which pH paper should we use in different situations? Let's make this super simple. For drinking water testing, universal or narrow-range pH paper is preferred because accuracy matters. For swimming pools, narrow-range paper is often used to maintain proper water balance. For soil testing, universal pH paper works well for a general idea. For laboratory acid-base testing, litmus paper is enough for quick checking. For chemical industries, specialty papers are preferred for better precision. For school experiments, universal paper is usually the best option because colors are easy to compare. And for human urine testing, clinical strips are used. So remember, different jobs need different pH papers. So why do people love using pH paper? Because it has many advantages. It is cheap, It gives fast results. It is easy to carry anywhere. No electricity is needed. And most importantly, it is very easy to use. Just dip the strip, watch the color change, and compare with the color chart. Simple and fast.
But wait, nothing is perfect. pHPaper also has some limitations. First, it is less accurate than a pH meter. Second, sometimes different people may see colors differently. For example, one person may say green. Another may think it looks yellow-green. Third, testing becomes difficult in colored liquids. And finally, moisture can damage the strips. Important. That is why for highly accurate testing, scientists often prefer a pH meter. But wait, nothing is perfect. pHPaper also has some limitations. First, it is less accurate than a pH meter. Second, sometimes different people may see colors differently. For example, one person may say green. Another may think it looks yellow-green. Third, testing becomes difficult in colored liquids. And finally, moisture can damage the strips. Important. That is why for highly accurate testing, scientists often prefer a pH meter.
So today, we learned what pHPaper is, why it changes color, different types of pHPapers, and where each one is used. I hope this topic is now much easier to understand. If you enjoyed learning with me, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting science lessons. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.